It's enormous. Hey friends and book lovers, welcome. Today, as the title of course suggests, I am doing an enormous summer book haul, which was supposed to be small, and then I started taking out all the books that I've purchased in the last 2 or 3 months, and now it's enormous. It's enormous. So I'm gonna just jump right into the book haul, because if you know me, then you know that book buying is my other habit besides reading, and there's probably always gonna be a book haul on this channel without fail. So I'll get into one that I bought because it matches the first one in the series, and that is Harrow the Ninth. This is the black sprayed edges tour version, and I have the same version for Gideon the Ninth. And I saw this one at the bookstore, and I just thought I'm just gonna swipe this right now because they're gonna match, and they're gonna be a beautiful matching set with black sprayed edges, which is my favorite color of sprayed edges. And it's just gorgeous. I've also heard nothing but really good things about Gideon the Ninth, and I just figured that for Harrow the Ninth, I will probably also love both of them if everybody loves both of them, because people that have similar tastes to me or like similar themes to what I like in a fantasy novel seem to really enjoy this series so far. So I sniped the sequel, and since it's the sequel and I haven't read the first one, I'm gonna spare y'all the synopsis, but of course Gideon the Ninth is super popular and super like cool and edgy and seems to be unlike other fantasy series that are out there right now. The next one I picked up, I haven't really heard a lot about, but I've seen it and I love the cover art, and from what I have heard, it's pretty good, and people that haven't read it have really raved about it, and that's Black Leopard, Red Wolf by Marlon James. I know that a few of y'all have this on your TBRs. I know that people haven't read it yet, but the cover art for this is, oh my gosh, it's gorgeous. Like, how can I resist those colors? I can't. This is about a man named Tracker who, wouldn't you know it, is a tracker and gets tasked with finding this missing boy. And with that, he joins forces, I guess, with this kind of motley crew of people, and it's a very hodgepodge type of group. Sounds like the found family trope to me, but I haven't read it yet. And they battle creatures that are trying to destroy them to find this boy. And it seems like Tracker finds himself questioning, like, who is this boy? Why do we have to find him? And like, what's really going on? And the author has pulled from African history and mythology to create this story, which is really intriguing to me because I don't know much about either of those things, and I am very intrigued to get into this novel. It has, from what I understand, gotten nothing but really great reviews from people on Instagram that have read it. I don't know many folks that have read it on actual BookTube, but on Bookstagram, it has gotten rave reviews, so I'm happy to have this one as part of my collection, and I hope to read it soon. So the next 2 books are actually used books that I got at this bookstore in Western Massachusetts. My boyfriend took me, and it was such a cute little store. They don't have like a ton of fantasy selection, so I wasn't really able to find much, but they do have like a ton of classics and a ton of historical fiction novels, which is pretty much what I got. So this one seemed really intriguing. It's called Dark Angels by Carleen Cohen, and it just seemed like something that I maybe would be interested in. I used to, when I was younger, read some historical fiction novels. I didn't always love them, but some of them were really intriguing, so I thought I would give this one a shot. And this one involves like old Europe, France, and England, lots of royal culture, lots of political royal intrigue, lots of like political factions type of things, and it seems really interesting. It also seems that it has a pretty strong underlying romance element, so that's also intriguing to me, and just the entire vibe of the novel seems like something that I would be interested, at least in a movie. I would definitely probably watch this, so I'm thinking maybe in a novel I would really enjoy reading it, and it had really good reviews on Goodreads, so I figured I would snap it up, and here we are, broadening my horizon. And the next one is called The Fifth Gospel by Ian Caldwell. Now, I feel like this was a bestseller back in the day, whenever it was released, I don't know when, and it seems like a murder mystery thriller. It seems similar to Dan Brown's like novel that involved religion and the Vatican, and this one says on the back, a Catholic priest must place his family at risk to solve the death of a Vatican curator. So that just really intrigued me. A murder mystery seems pretty similar to the Da Vinci Code, with now reading a review that says, for those who might compare it to the Da Vinci Code, don't. So we'll see, but that's what it reminded me of, so that's why I got it. And I just figured used books need homes too, so these ones just seem like good ones to snap up and see if I would enjoy something of these genres. So the next book is Nolan by Michael J. Sullivan, and this was a Kickstarter that I contributed to, I guess, monetarily, and was really interested in this novel and just in Michael J. Sullivan's writing in general, so I thought I would give it a shot. I haven't read his other book, so this is going to be a first for me. This is apparently still in the same world as some of his other series, but stands alone. So you don't have to read the other series before you read this one, which is great. And I guess it's about Elon, who is this man who has lots of, war history behind him and gets assigned to the front lines of the Goblin War, only to find out that there is no stronghold or army there. They just sent him there to die, and he tries to figure out who has sent him there to make his death look like a war casualty. And that's how our story begins. So that's really intriguing. I am hoping that I love it. I've heard a lot of other booktubers talk about Michael J. Sullivan and sing his praises. So I'm really hoping that Nolan lives up to that and that his writing lives up to all that I've heard about him. And yeah, it was really cool to participate in a book Kickstarter. I didn't know that Kickstarters existed for books before Nolan, and it's really cool to have my eye out. Now I know. Now I'm going to be coming for those Kickstarters because it's just super cool to be able to support an author directly with the story. So this next one is pretty self-explanatory, and if you haven't seen my read-along announcement, I will post it up in the cards and down below. For the months of August, September, and October, we are doing a Count of Monte Cristo by Alexandre Dumas read-along, and we are doing the unabridged version. So I got this very ostentatious version of Count of Monte Cristo. This is the Barnes & Noble version, and it's just absolutely stunning. There's also the word cloud editions, which are equally as stunning but a little more subdued, and I'm very tempted to get one of those too, even though I haven't even read the book yet. I have watched the movie for Count of Monte Cristo and really enjoy it, but people have commented, as I understand it, that it's very Hollywoodized and made different than the actual original story. So I'm excited to read this and just see what differs and what remains the same within the story. But overall, it is still what I understand, a story of passion, revenge, resilience, everything juicy and good, and I just can't wait to read this with my co-host. It's gonna be a really good time, and yeah, adding more classics to my list for this year. And the next book I bought for myself, I had also gifted to a friend of mine, Abby Salter, for her birthday. She's already gotten that, and I also got it for myself because I figured this would be really interesting to read, and I've heard Starla Reads talk about this and say how much she loves it, and that is Upon a Burning Throne by Ashok K. Banker. It is book one, I think, in the Burnt Empire saga. I don't know if it's going to be a trilogy or a longer series, but the first two in this series are out, and this is currently the first one. It follows two princes that have to pass the test of fire in order to figure out who's going to be sitting on the throne, because it's not birthright that gives you the throne, and apparently they both pass it only to discover that there is another girl who has claim to the throne, who is the daughter of a demon lord. But when the interim rulers deny her request to try to sit on the throne, the demon lord wreaks war on this world, and the two princes now have to rule over what's left, is what I understand from the synopsis. Overall, it seems like a lot of political intrigue, seems like a lot of action, it seems like a lot of secrets that are going to be coming to light, and maybe some found family, which I really enjoy. In either case, I've just heard phenomenal things about this, but from not a lot of people, so I would love to get it and see what my opinion is going to be like. So this next one I've heard a lot about on various discords, and I've just heard a lot about it from other book clubs. I think this is part of Oprah or Reese's book club it's part of, and just heard really great things, as well as this gorgeous cover. The only thing I wish it didn't have was this Reese's YA book club thing on it, because it's on a sticker and I can't take it off. I ended up seeing this gorgeous cover on Target and getting it from there, and since I had heard so many wonderful things about it, I figured I would just snag this up because it is also gorgeous, and we all know how much I love collecting beautiful books. I don't know too much about this besides the fact that it's apparently phenomenal. I know that there's an Indigenous woman who has to investigate this murder mystery that I think happened partially on Indigenous land, and so that's why she's involved. And I think it goes into the culture, and also the culture of how police and outsiders treat the indigenous peoples and those kind of societal issues, as well as the actual women, her relationships, and the murder mystery itself. So very intrigued to read this. Hopefully I explained everything correctly. Please correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but I am stoked. And again, I've heard nothing but really amazing things about this. I've also heard that it's a real page turner once you get into it, so I'm excited for that avalanche to hit me once I start reading this book, hopefully in the near future. The next one is another sequel to Master of Sorrows by Justin T. Call, and this one is a Master Artificer by Justin T. Call, which is the second in the Master of Sorrows series, which is basically like a Dark Lord school origin story. I haven't read the synopsis for this one because I don't want to be spoiled for the first one, but I figured I would grab it because it's beautiful and I want to have these all in hardback, and hopefully I'll enjoy the series so much that I'll collect all of the hardbacks as they get released. But I haven't yet read the first one. I have heard pretty good things from those who read it. I haven't heard a ton about it being read on booktube. I think he is a newer author and it is just not like a super popular book yet, but hopefully as the series grows and if it's really good, it'll get popular. But this is a sequel to that book and I wanted to show it because it is just stunning. I think both covers so far have been absolutely beautiful, and the Master of Sorrows cover is my favorite. The next one is just a beautiful old copy of The Odyssey by Homer, and I found this at a bookstore in Salem, Massachusetts, and it's just like a beautiful old copy of The Odyssey, and I just couldn't help but grab a copy of this because I'm Greek and it's part of my ancestry technically, right? The next book I pretty much bought for the cover and for the fact that it is a Greek myth retelling, but other than that I don't know too much about it besides the original myth, and that is Ariadne by Jennifer Saint. I got the UK version because the UK cover is just so much more stunning than the US cover, and Book Depository delivers for free, so why not? I'm excited for this one. This one seems more like a fiction, like a heavy historical fiction than like a fantasy that I'm used to, and I have heard decent things about it. I don't know a lot of people that have read it, but I know a lot of people that have purchased it because it is just so freaking beautiful. This next book I just purchased, and it's another, I believe, self-published novel, maybe? I have to double check that. Maybe it's not self-published, but it is like a smaller publishing house, if anything, and that is Neon Gods by Katie Robert. I know that this is a Hades and Persephone retelling. I've been very into Hades and Persephone retellings lately. I feel like every kind of fantasy romance book I pick up is a Hades and Persephone retelling, and this one is a really straightforward one because I think Hades' name is Hades and Persephone is named Persephone. I've also heard that it's very, very, very smutty and very, very fun to read, so that's exciting for me. I cannot wait to get my hands into this and read it. And yeah, I've heard nothing but great things, especially on Bookstagram. So many of my Bookstagram friends have raved about it, and I can't wait to get into it. The next two books I heard talked about on a separate kind of corner of fantasy booktube that I don't really visit, people's channels I don't really watch all that often, but when I heard these being talked about, I just had to get 2 copies, and this was a really long time ago, but I ended up seeing them on Amazon and just feeling like, you know what, I'm gonna take that suggestion and I'm gonna buy them. And that's Godblind and the sequel Dark Soul. This is a trilogy, but I only have the first 2, and I actually might return this one because this one's like a really big copy of this one, or maybe I'll return this one and try to find the regular copies so that they match, because as you can see they don't match, and that's really annoying to me. They're different heights and I hate that. But I've heard really amazing things about Godblind by Anna Stevens. I've heard that it's a really, really great trilogy, and I know that it's dark. I don't know how dark it is, but I have discovered that I really like dark themes, and I really like maybe characters that aren't always so likable, and I just think that this series might be up my alley, so I got the first 2 and I'm very excited about that. If y'all have read this series and you know anything about it, let me know in the comments down below. Unfortunately, I feel like I don't hear it being talked about a ton. Maybe it was talked about back in the day when it first came out, but I haven't really heard much about it recently. And when hearing about it, I just thought, I'm gonna read it. And the booktuber who was talking about it, he seemed to really love them, love the entire trilogy, rave about them, and yeah. And then I also heard about it from Patrick, who apparently enjoyed this series back when he first read it, I'm pretty sure. And it gave me even more motivation to get the first 2 in the trilogy. So that is it for this massive book haul. I think I had like at least what, 15, 20 books in this. I can't believe that I did that kind of damage to myself, but oh well, that just means more books to read, right? And more beautiful shelves to look at, right? If you read any of the books that I talked about today or that I recently bought, please leave a comment down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts on how you found the book, if you enjoyed the story, or if you just like looking at the cover like I do sometimes. And if you like this video, please click that like button since it really does help support my channel. And if you want to see more content from me, more content like this, please don't hesitate to subscribe.